Now let's create a material for the sash that kind of goes around the abdomen. And so I want this to kind of go along with the satin trim for the jumpsuit. So here we're on our sash material. You can see it includes not only this piece, but also these two pieces on the side. And so we'll need to make sure and separate what we're doing to isolate it just to this abdomen piece. So I want to make it a kind of maybe similar color, and we can always go back and change these colors, maybe to a more blue color, but I wanted to kind of go along with that. And so let's go ahead and create a fill layer. And in the base color, I'm going to go ahead and choose the eyedropper, and I'm just going to select kind of a purple color here. And let's go into the metallic, and I'm going to go ahead and dial that up a little bit. I'll also increase the roughness a little to get it to look similar. So maybe a little bit less in the roughness. So maybe something more like that. All right. And then I want to add a pattern to this, but I want the pattern not to be in the color, but in the roughness, so that it's a little bit different in the roughness, and so that we can see the difference in the lighting. And so to do that, all we have to do is go to our procedurals, and then we'll choose whatever pattern that we want to use, just like we did before with the jumpsuit, except this time we'll pipe it into the roughness of the layer. And so let's say, and we can experiment with some of these different ones. Let's say we want to do something like this. So we'll go ahead and grab this one, and I'm just going to drop it into the roughness. Okay. Now, again, with the tiling and the black and white, it's not doing exactly what we want it to do. So let's first go ahead and increase the tiling amount. Okay. So we want it to be, I don't know, something like that. We can also change the scaling of each one of those. All right. And then I also want to adjust. You can see how this turned the rest of it really, really shiny. It turned the roughness all the way down because that color is black. And so what I want to do is add a levels to this layer. And here we'll come in under, instead of affected channel on base color, we'll choose roughness. And now you can see we have a levels for the roughness. So I can dial this up and make that base, instead of really, really shiny, I can make it a little bit closer to what I had envisioned. And then at the top level, we can bring that down closer to where we are here. And so I'll just make it a little bit more of a subtle difference. We can still go back in here and tile this. So let me change this to something like 30. And you can see the difference that makes. You can also change the scale, the border width to change the size of the lines. We want something that's pretty subtle. So maybe something like that. Let's go ahead and create a color adjustment for this. And so let's go in and let's create a filter. And I'm just going to create a HSL perceptive, drop that in, and this will allow us to change the hue of this. So we can really quickly adjust this to, let's say, if we want more of a blue. Okay. And then we can take the kind of the saturation out of it, tweak it that way. Now we'll be able to do the same thing for the purple up here. Now, right now, you can see that this material is affecting that red, or that sash right here, that we're actually going to make red. And so all we have to do now is mask that out. So we'll create a white mask, which shows everything. And now all we have to do is mask out these two shells. We'll do that with this tool here we've used before. Right click, and you can see, do a UV chunk, and we're going to fill it with black. Okay, so now all we have to do is click on these two chunks, and we've now masked those out. Okay, now the great thing about the filter here is that it's very, very easy to go back in and change the colors. So, and you can see how it changes the overall color of the whole thing. Okay, so that if we go now to the jumpsuit and we go to this purple layer, go back and add a filter, same filter, we can now adjust just that purple. And so now we can make that a little bit closer to what we have the sash. So I think it's a little bit more closer to purple. So maybe something like that. Let me dial that saturation down a little bit. And so you can make those adjustments very, very quickly using filters. All right, so if you don't like the pattern that you've got, very easy. Simply go into the main fill layer, replace the pattern inside of the roughness, you still have the levels adjustment here so that you can adjust the black and white points. So you can decide which parts of this alpha are really shiny, which parts of the alpha are really, really matte, and you can dial that in more specifically using a levels filter. All right. So once you've got that, the next thing we'll do is jump in and add a little bit of color and texture to these other sashes on this same material. So we'll do that next.